Everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I'm taking a first look, my first look at least, and my first impressions of the just released Neural DSP Soldano SLO-100 amp model. I've heard a lot of great things about this. To be honest with you, this is my first dip of the toe into the Neural products. I've never tried one. I've heard a lot of great things, obviously with the Quad Cortex being released recently. There's a real buzz around them, and I thought this would be a really cool one to kind of dive into it. So I did something interesting here. I literally just downloaded the demo. So I haven't even purchased this. I thought, I want to try it out. I'm going to try the demo before I even think about purchasing it. And I figured it would be kind of fun to do a video with my literal first impressions of seeing this. So all I've done so far is I've downloaded, I've activated it, I've loaded it up in Cubase, and I just sort of went through the tabs just to see where everything lays out. And I recorded like about 4 seconds of music to make sure that it was recording, so I didn't go through a whole video and find out that I had no audio for some odd reason, which happens with digital audio sometimes, and you just kind of, restart a program and everything's fine. So without further ado, let's dive over, take a look at this new plugin. So here we are. I'm using the plugin version of the Neural Soldano SLO-100. Obviously, this has been approved by the folks at Soldano. This is an official release. I'm taking it since they're actually using the name and the look of the amp and everything. It's really nice looking. My first impression is really how attractive it is and how well laid out it is as well. The Soldano SLO is an amazing amplifier, and I was really curious to dive into this and see how things go. So let's take a quick poke around here first. So we have these tabs up front where we have a series of input pedals: compressor, overdrive 1, overdrive 2, and chorus. We have our amp controls. We have a graphic equalizer. We have a cab section, which we'll get into in detail in a minute. And we have sort of an end section with delay and reverb. So nicely laid out. Doesn't seem to me to be too customizable. I would love to be able to throw a compressor at the end, but you can always do that in your DAW after you're done recording. There's really nothing stopping you from doing that, but this is really nice the way they've laid this out. They've kind of put, compressor first in the chain where a lot of folks would use it. Overdrives, chorus at the beginning here as well. So we'll take a look at all of this. We also have up here input for our input volume, a gate if we want to use it, input mode of stereo or mono, and an output mode. I'm guessing because I'm on a mono input on my DAW, it's not giving me the choice to switch between that. Down here we have the ability to do some MIDI mapping, which we won't look at today. And we have a tuner, which is very interesting stuff. And that's muted, or I could unmute it. Nice. I can click that off. Good. So let's just go back and start with the amp itself. What we have are two channels, overdrive and normal. We have crunch and clean on the normal channel. We have a bright switch we can put on and off. We have an overdrive and a normal preamp. The ones that are grayed out are just for the other channels. So if I switch to the overdrive, you see how the normal clean channel parameters are blocked out gray. And when I switch back, now they aren't, and the overdrive are. So when I switch to this, my bright and my clean crunch go away too. So that's really nicely laid out, because it's very quick to figure out that, oh, I'm on my overdrive channel, those parameters don't apply. You're not gonna sit there and possibly be tweaking parameters, thinking in your mind that it's doing something, and then finding out, oh, it's actually just disengaged, right? So we'll start on the normal channel here. We have bass, middle, and treble, which are global to both channels. We have a master volume, which is really nice for both channels, presence and depth, which are active on both. We have a standby switch here and a power on off. Kind of funny. I guess they put the two, they seem to just react together. I guess they put the two there just to keep the look of the amp very genuine to the original. So, great stuff. The other interesting thing I want to look at right now is the cab though, and I really haven't looked at this at all, but we have one speaker cab here. I know we can load custom IRs if you want, but they also have this one built-in cab that we can change the microphone out, and we can have two different microphones. So we have Dynamic 57, which would be a Shure SM57, a copy of a Sennheiser 421, the condenser 414 would be the AKG 414, the condenser 184 I believe would be a Neumann mic, Ribbon 121 would be a Royer R121 mic, one of my all-time favorites, and the Bear Ribbon 160, so the 160 ribbon, M160 ribbon mic from Bear. So that really great choice of mics, really gonna give you everything you need, and we can mix and match it. We can also grab them and move them around, which is ultra cool. We can change the distance on them. I love that. I love being able to move these things around. We also have a pan control. We can flip the phase on them. Really well thought out. So let's just leave this set up as now and just come over to the amp itself. On the clean channel, I'm gonna take it off crunch and go right to clean. We'll just see what we have here sound-wise. Bring the normal preamp up a little bit. Zero these EQ tone stack controls. So on the clean setting, if we crank that to 11, very nice. It starts breaking up. Let's turn the bright switch off. So it does really start to break up at the higher settings. What about back to about 8? Okay, so a fair amount of clean room there. I could also bump the master up to get some more volume out of that power section and keep the preamp lower. That starts to break up a little. So you can get a nice balance here. And that's on a humbucker pick. If I go to just a single coil mode, very nice stuff, very flexible. Now if I flip the crunch switch, go back to the humbucker. So a decent amount of gain even on tap. Let me bring the normal master back and crank that normal preamp. Okay, so actually quite a bit of gain on tap on the clean channel when we engage the crunch. If I turn that bright switch on, very nice and flexible. Again, if I bring that back, keep the crunch on actually. Back to the clean. So a lot of possibilities and a real wide range of tones available here on even just the clean channel. Let's do this. Let's turn that preamp up a bit. Maybe get something. A little bit of crunch on it. See what the bass control does. Crank it up to 11. Take it down to 0. Very nice that it stays within a usable range. If you notice, there's sometimes certain amps, if you crank the bass, it just goes out of a usable range and it's just muddy and flubby. And if you crank it down, there's like no bass left. So this stays kind of musical, which I really like in an amp. Let's crank those mids up. I really like those mids up. You know, it does give that nice scooped sound when we crank them down though. Go with treble, we'll crank it up, see if it gets kind of harsh. It really doesn't. Let's bring them all the way down. I really like this tone stack, although I'm just going to leave them all kind of flat around 7 as they come up. It's kind of interesting because, like I said, they all stay within a real musical range. It's not one of these things where if you crank it all the way up, all of a sudden the treble's piercing or the bass is flubby and boomy. They're actually usable. Really cool stuff. Then we do have a presence control at the end, which affects both channels. Again, all within a very usable range. Really, really nice stuff there. We'll bring that back and leave it at 7 again. Depth, see what that does. Seems to add some nice fullness and body to the sound. Nice. I'm not going to mess too much with the tone stack when I create a tone here though, just because I'm really liking kind of the way they're sitting right there, and I'm probably going to want to use the cabin mics, move those around to get the tone that I'm looking for. Okay, let's go over to the overdrive channel, see what happens right away. We have our master on 3 and our overdrive on 7. Really nice stuff. How much gain can we get out of this? Crank it up. All right, now obviously some graininess there. I think that has a lot to do with the fact I'm using 2 dynamic mics, which I wouldn't normally do. Let's bring that overdrive down and crank the master up. So a very different overdrive when we do that and crank that master up. Let's bring that back and we'll bring this in. Okay, so for my first impressions, there is a lot of flexibility and some really beautiful tones in here that I think can be made better by adding some of these other sections. So now that we've looked at that, let's go over to the cab section. Let's do this. Let's take the level of this mic right out and just deal with one microphone. So we have our dynamic 57, the Shure SM57. Now if I move that right to the center of the cone and then put it right on the cone, it should get very grainy. If I move that back a bit, I use my distance control. You see how powerful this is? If we pull it back all the way and position it way out to the edge of the cone, we actually get a bit of a smoother tone, as it happens in real life. But let's do this. Let's move it more somewhere around the center, between the center of the edge and the center cone, and we'll pull it back maybe halfway, see what happens. Already liking that a little better. Now let's compare some of the mics in this position. So the 57 to the MD 421, Sennheiser 421. Gonna be a similar quality to the 57 because they're both dynamic mics. I've always kind of preferred the 421 over the 57. Let's go to a AKG 414 condenser. Compare that to the 184 condenser. Now on to my favorites, R121 ribbon mic. Really nice stuff, and that's what it sounds like when you use a real one. 160 ribbon, Bayer M160. All right, so as would be expected. Now, what would I do with this? I would likely pair up a ribbon 121 with a dynamic 421. I'll bring the level back in on this, and then I would just balance the two, really. Let's do this. Let's bring the level all the way down on the ribbon mic. Now I'm purposely going to make this kind of grainy sounding and close up, really not a place I would position that mic if I was just using it by itself. Now I'll take that level out. I'm going to take the 121 ribbon. I'm going to pull it back as far as it can go. And just go a little off center with it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to blend in as much of the 421 as I want. Okay, I'm going to leave that and I'm going to come back to my amp now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to crank some mids into that. A little bit more presence, a little bit more treble. Bring that depth up a bit. Very nice stuff. I'm really starting to like that add a little more presence and a little more treble. Great. Now, let's do this. Let's go to the end, and I'm a big fan of always having a bit of reverb, especially on direct tones, which are going to be very dry. Okay, so we have decay here. I just want a little bit of a room sound here. Maybe darken it up so bring that mix back. I'm gonna leave it there, just not to overpower this with reverb, but just to make it sound like it was actually sitting in an acoustic space. But I am also going to bring some delay in. Okay, I don't think I want the ping pong on. That's better. Bring that mix up a bit. I'm gonna sync it with my DAW. Yeah, I'll leave it a quarter note. Feedback's okay. Bring the mix up. Really liking that, but I will bring my mix back. Really nice stuff. Now, we also have this graphic EQ where I could come in and just sort of master my sound a little bit. Let's go into around 500 hertz, pull that back 1.4 dB. I'm gonna give a little tiny notch up to the 2 and 4K frequencies. So here I cleaned out a little bit of the mud. Kind of would let it sit in a mix with a little more clarity. So that's a nice feature too. Then, of course, we have our chorus feature. Now let's just do this. Let's go back to our normal channel here. Take it off of crunch and off of bright. See what happens with a little bit of chorus on here. I'm gonna clean that up a little bit more. Actually, nice flexible chorus on it. Now the overdrive pedals, so EQ curve here, boost on the highs. Very nice smooth overdrive on that. What happens? Let's see what happens if we crank it down. Again, it stays usable. I really like the fact that these controls don't get outside of musical ranges. Very nice stuff. It's a little different flavor of overdrive there. Very nice, and of course we have a compressor here as well. Which can get out of control kind of quickly. Very useful stuff. Very nice. I think I've covered everything here. I can imagine they have some presets, artist presets built in. I'm not going to dive into that. We do have some here from some great folks. Oh, Jack Gardner, a wonderful player, and some others. Pretty cool stuff, some factory presets. I'm guessing we could also, yeah, save our own if I wanted to save this preset. I could just call it Jay's preset. And that would come back up whenever I pull that up. Very cool stuff. Okay. So really, if I go back now to my overdrive, I'm really digging that. Really, really nice tones. Nice job by the folks at Neural. I'm impressed. Very nice. This is a good one to dive in and try out the Neural products for the first time, I think. So very, very nice job. Hats off to the folks there. So this is available on their website now. I have absolutely no affiliation with them. I was just curious and I thought it would be kind of fun to do a video and show you guys my first impressions of this. And I hope that helped you to maybe see what this is capable of. I could go on for hours here tweaking every little thing over and over again to show you all the features, but I think that would get a little bit boring. Maybe this got boring as it is. So I hope that does sort of lay out what it can do. And if you guys like that, then I know it's available now through the Neural website. So very cool plugin, something I wouldn't mind having in my collection for certain particular situations. All right, guys, I hope that was a good look at this for you guys. Please like the video, share it with anybody who you think would get use out of it or like to see this in action. And please subscribe to the channel. Hit the little bell notification to get notified when I put new content out. I'll be back real soon with some more content. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Ciao for now.